here are my 5 favorite unique core strengtheners. And as you'll see, they are all really effective for targeting the region of the core or the anterior core or the abdominals specifically. But I really like that they each target the core in slightly different ways. And so, because of that, all 5 of these could be a nice selection of movements to practice together in order to target the core in a well rounded way. And I also love all of these movements, again, first of all, because they're unique and they tend to be novel. We don't tend to see these movements like that often, but they're also great movements we can do right within a yoga practice, right on the yoga mat. They are all body weight movements, but there are a couple of them in which I'll show that if you wanted to add load, you could use something like a kettlebell, a weight of some sort. And some of them will involve the use of a yoga block too, but not all of them. So with that said, let's turn our attention to my first favorite unique core strengthener. My first favorite unique core strengthener is a variation on bird dog. Now, you may be familiar with bird dog. We tend to find this pretty commonly in a yoga context where we start in hands and knees, and then we reach an opposite arm and opposite leg away from one another. So what I'll show today is what I think is a very cool variation on bird dog, which is called a bird dog pull through. So I'm going to take a yoga block, set it off to the side, and then I will come back into my bird dog, but instead of reaching, so I'll reach left leg back, instead of right arm going forward, I'll actually reach the right arm across, grab the block, pull it through, and place it on the other side, and then hand and knee down. Then I'll reach the opposite leg, take my other hand across, and find that block and pull it through. So it really kind of changes up the movement pattern of bird dog, and it gives us this physical object that we have to move through space. And that could be a nice way of encouraging just more kind of self-organization in this movement task. And then if we wanted to add more load, this is one of the core strengtheners today where we have an option of adding more load. So I also like to do this more in a strength training context where we add a weight. And then it looks something like this. We reach across, we pull the weight over or through really, because this is a pull through, and then reach across and pull through. So this is adding the weight will make this more strengthening, but depending on where you are at with your body and your strength levels, adding something heavier may not be necessary, but I like it as an option. So that is the bird dog pull through. My second favorite unique core strengthener is called a dead bug pullover. And it's a really cool combination of a dead bug and a pullover. And you may be familiar with dead bugs. They're pretty common. It's reclined core work. There are many variations, but like here's kind of a classic one you see where you're on your back, you reach opposite arm and opposite leg away from one another. So that's dead bug. And then a pullover is when you, in a strength training context, you would hold a weight, but here I'm going to hold a yoga block where we reach the block up and overhead and lift it back up, all with control. So this is a pullover. A dead bug pullover is a combination of the two. So something like this, and there can be different like leg variations. I'm just gonna show this bent knee, but we reach the block over as we send a leg forward, and then we reach the leg and the block, and we come back to center. And then sometimes I like to even like say we were going to do straight leg. This is another great variation. You could do straight leg. Sometimes I like to add a little crisscross of the legs, and then we come back, block overhead, leg down, and then crisscross, and then come back. So that's like a little extra twist on the variation. And then if you wanted to, once again, if you wanted to build more strength, or if this was a strength training context for you, then you might actually add the weight. And then it would be something like this. Lower the weight, reach the leg, lift back up, lower the weight. And this is going to, obviously, the weight will add load, and it will require more work from the upper body and the core. So that's the dead bug pullover, and it's a really cool combo that we rarely see. My third favorite unique core strengthener is called a straddle seat overhead side bend. And in more of like a yoga context, we might think of this as this is Upavishta Konasana when we're in a seat and our legs are out wide and we fold. So we yogis also might think of this as like Upavishta Konasana, active side bends. But in our strength for yoga program, we use kind of just more like strength language. And then this is straddle seat overhead side bend. So this one is cool because it might not jump out at you on the surface as being a core strengthener. It doesn't look like a lot of like core work that we tend to see, but it is a core strengthener. I'm going to use a block, but you could also do this without the block, like no prop at all. But we reach the block up overhead. And then we side bend up and over. And as I side bend, I'm loading my right lateral core. So like my obliques there, they're controlling the lower, and then they control as I lift back up. Then I lower the other way. And now my obliques on this side, they're eccentrically working to lower me. And then they're concentrically working to lift me. So this is the straddle seat, and it's really alternating side bend because we alternate back and forth. We like holding the block overhead or at least having your arms up because that's going to lengthen the lever and add more load to the side waist or the lateral core. You could also like, have your hands here and side bend like this, but that will just be less load because it's just like a less of a longer lever that you're having to control. So you could do this, it would just be a little less strengthening. This would be more strengthening. So that is my third favorite unique core strengthener. My fourth favorite unique core strengthener is one of my favorites. This one is quite different. I find that we rarely see this like in a yoga setting and even in like a fitness or even a strength setting. But I like this one especially too because it's a total core strengthener. But once again, it doesn't necessarily jump out at you as being a core strengthener just on the surface. So this is a single leg bridge with hip circle. I come up into bridge pose and then I lift a leg up. And this is already a lot. And I am targeting my core here. So we might think of it's bridge. So we might think like the posterior hip is working, but I am targeting my core because once I lift a leg, my body wants to like rotate toward the floor, but I'm not letting that happen. And so in kind of stabilizing that kind of anti-rotation, I am targeting my core in a rotational way. But of course, other areas of the body are also targeted. So anyway, I'll hold here and then I will circle this straight leg. I move it through a full hip circle. And as I do that, I'm changing the direction of the load that is taking place. And while this really is targeting much of my body, it's definitely targeting the core, especially rotationally and posteriorly, like the backside and then the rotational core. So that's a great way, a great novel take on bridge pose. We kind of all know bridge pose, pretty classic. And to lift a leg up is already great, and that's already going to challenge us more. But once we take the straight leg, and you could have the knee bent too. The straight leg just makes it a little stronger. But once we circle the leg like that, we add this more like multi-directional loading. And it's a really great way to wake up and target the core. My fifth unique core strengthener is full range side plank dips. So we know in yoga, we know that we have side plank or Vasisthasana. And this in and of itself is a great core strengthener. So we're targeting the lateral core on the underside as well as the lateral hip. So the lateral glutes. And by some definitions of the core, the glutes are the core. It kind of depends on who you're talking to. But regardless, side plank is a really good core strengthener. But this video is about unique core strengtheners. And so I wanted to show a variation of side plank that is unique and that I really enjoy. So this is full range side plank. So instead of holding isometrically, we actually dip down. And now I'm coming into a stretch of these lateral structures. They are stretched and then they have to contract and shorten as they lift up. And I actually lift up higher than my starting position. And then I lower, as I lower with control. My lateral core and hip are eccentrically controlling, and then they concentrically work to lift back up. So these are full range side planks. And, if hand on the floor is a little challenging, you can always elevate your hand on a sturdy surface, like maybe a chair seat, as long as the chair were stabilized and wasn't going to slide, or a bench, something like that. So just the higher up your hand is, you could even have your hand on the wall and perform these at the wall. But that would just be a good way to scale back. But if hand on the floor was like too challenging. But those are full range side planks, and I really like them as a unique core strengthener. That sums it up for my 5 favorite unique core strengtheners. If you appreciated this content, subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date on all of the videos that I share.